Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close, I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valuetainment, giving values contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to haters. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
All right, so we weren't going to do a podcast tonight. However, we ended up doing a podcast today because we have a friend, an old friend of mine. When many years ago I started a radio show, and I did it for a year and a half, it was called Saving America. I walked into this building. It was the Salem headquarters or something. It was KRLA or KKLA. Anyways, I walk in. Dennis Prager is there. It was what? Yourself, Hugh Hewitt, Frank Pastore, if you remember the late Frank Pastore.
He was a great man.
And and then obviously today we have him here. We got a lot of stories to cover with you. Let me kind of give the stories and then we'll get right into it. Dennis, it's great to have you here. We have obviously the Madison Square Garden event that took place where if you watched MSNBC, it was apparently a German event. A lot of the folks from old Germany decided to put that event together. If you talk to the people that love America, they said it was the greatest event ever hosted at Madison Square Garden. A lot of people were there. This one guy named Elon Musk was there. This other guy named Dana White, who's got a lot of fighters who are with his organization, UFC. Trump, unbelievable event. We got a lot of clips to show you. MSNBC lost their mind. Tony Hinchcliffe made a comment about a community, this island, Puerto Ricans. We're going to talk about whether that joke was appropriate or not. Obviously, we got a comedian here and a retired one that can give some thoughts on it. Then we have Rogan. Had this one guy show up on his podcast, a guy named Donald J. Trump. And that podcast, that one podcast that Rogan did, got more views than everything Kamala Harris has done combined. Think about the power of it. One podcast got more views than all the other shows Kamala Harris did combined. Bill Maher praises Trump for his McDonald's visit. He says it's brilliant and calls Harris snubbing Joe Rogan a mistake. Michael Rappaport lost his mind. This Jewish girl who was at the event with Trump in Madison Square Garden responded to all the stuff that MSNBC is saying about them. Beyonce showed up, put the most incredible performance for 2 minutes. It was so great that after she walked off, everybody left. Everybody left and said, wait a minute, did I come? Is Kamala going to sing for me? If she's not going to sing for me, why the hell am I coming here thinking Beyonce was going to perform? And nobody yet knows how much the DNC paid her. Did she get paid the $12 million, the $10 million, or the $8 million? Or is Beyonce so involved in charity and she's so charitable that she said, babe, Jay-Z, I'm going to go here because I support this party so much. I don't want any money from it. Who knows? Do you think she got paid? Do you think she didn't get paid? We'll talk about that. Couple other things here to be talking about. Difficult for her to win. This is a story from Daily Caller. Mark Halperin says data everywhere shows things have moved in Trump's direction. Guys, it's so bad that Bezos, who is on the left, he's been for many, many years, who bought WAPO for many, many years, comes out and says, guys, we're not going to be endorsing Kamala Harris. It was so bad that people left the office saying, if we're not endorsing Kamala Harris, we're worried you're going to go and start working and becoming friends with Trump. People quit over that. So did LA Times, first time in 20 years. And then Elon Musk, they're trying to find a way to silence this guy because Twitter's changing the game and he's got so much influence. Now they're trying to say he's an illegal immigrant. They want to deport this guy. And even NASA chief, who was publicly humiliated just a month ago because they had some astronauts stuck out there that they couldn't bring back and said, maybe we'll bring him back by 2025. This entrepreneur, Elon Musk, came and saved them. They're back. By the way, did you hear about it at all on mainstream media? This much. You know why? Because it embarrasses who? Boeing and NASA. And guess what? NASA out here, chief, comes out and says, WSJ report claims that Elon Musk has been in regular contact with Putin, should be investigated. No shit, Sherlock. You're afraid because he exposed you and you don't like it. Now, we'll respond to that as well. Philadelphia DA wants to sue Musk for the $1 million giveaway he's given. Biden says Elon Musk was an illegal worker. Now, Biden's worried about the border now when it comes up to Musk, but not the other 12 million or 15 million people. Van Jones, progressive, push people like Musk out of the party by saying all white people are racist and all men are toxic. We'll respond to that. Tommy Robinson is apparently behind jail now. Israel strikes on Iran. We're going to ask you about that question. You wrote a letter, 15-page letter to Candace. What was that all about? We want to kind of get your thoughts on that as well. Project 2025, it's still being talked about. Derek Jeter rips Aaron Boone. I don't know if you saw that or not, for costly Yankees decision. I don't know what reason. And then A-Rod also agreed with them. And then last but not least, opinion from Wall Street Journal. Harvard's anti-Semitism problem. We want your thoughts on that as well. Having said that, gang, election night is 8 days away. The event is such a hot commodity right now. No joke. I'm at Chops eating Saturday night. The valet guy comes and says, hey, man, can I get 2 tickets? I'm trying to buy. I had to get his number. I'm like, I got my family. I'm trying to get in the car. I go to the house, letters sitting in front of the house. A neighbor says, hey, Pat, I just bought a house in this area. I was trying to buy 2 super VIP tickets. Is there any way we can get letters? Everybody's getting, you got a message on Manekta of a guy that wants 2 super VIP. Guys, just so you know, the elite tickets sold, gone. The super VIPs oversold. If you gave us $40,000 a ticket right now, we can't sell it to you because it's capacity. I think we have 7 tickets of VIP left. I think we have 12 tickets of the premium left. And I think we have less than 300 tickets of the general left. Once it sells out, it's done. Just so everybody knows. And if you don't know what this event is, Rob, we have, at this point, people have probably seen the video. I don't know if I want to play the video or not. But if you want to kind of play it, and we'll go to the second half of the video. We just bought a building, 11 acres. We're going to have a great time at this building. We're going to have a bunch of people coming down here. Mm-hmm. That'll be with us. Jorge Masvidal. I think Little Pump is coming. I think Mike Chandler's going to be there. Candace. I think we have Emily Austin Smith. That's going to be there. Emily Austin's going to be there. I think we got Vince, who Vince will be there. Vince Ellison will be there. We got a big lineup. Francis, Sammy, a bunch of people that you're going to know. Ryan Montgomery, a bunch of them are going to be there that night. We will start at 6 p.m. Gates will open. A lot of you guys will go to the Inner Miami. You'll get in a shuttle. It'll escort you over to us for security reasons. We're getting everybody to be secured. And then when you come here from 6 p.m., till 2 o'clock in the morning, we'll be together, and we'll be live on the podcast. I have a feeling it's going to be the biggest live podcast worldwide on YouTube that will be broadcasting. And if you haven't yet bought a ticket for yourself, bring your family, bring your relatives, bring your peers. Let's spend that night together. Who knows how the results are going to be? Whatever it's going to be, we'll be talking about a lot of issues on what will happen post-election. So November 5th, go to $59.90 live. Buy your ticket before it sells out, and don't connect and say, Pat, is there any way I can get a ticket? We can't sell you more because it's a number that we reached, and I know we can't sell you anything else. And I'm telling you, I'm getting messages right now left and right. Having said that, let's get right into it. Dennis Prager, have you watched the Joe Rogan Trump interview?
Only segments of it.
So what did you think about the fact that this interview today, which Elon Musk just tweeted it out saying right now, if you type in, Rob, if you go on Google right now, YouTube, and you type in Rogan and Trump, if you just go on YouTube, okay, just go on YouTube Fresh, Rob. Close it. Go to YouTube Fresh. This is the homepage. Just go brandnewyoutube.com. And if you can go there, Rob, and just type in Rogan Trump, and the first one should come up because it's got 30 plus million. Zoom in a little bit so we can see it. Okay, zoom in a little bit if you can see it, Rob. There you go.
Don't see it.
So The Hill, 30,000 views. MSNBC, no, at the top. MSNBC 176. The Hill 422. Let's go a little bit lower to see what's next. So the next one is still not him. That's Watch Mojo, not him.
None of them.
That's a Thoughts on the podcast that he does with Bravo and others. Not him. That's a clip, not him. Then CNN, keep going, not him, not the podcast. Keep going, not the podcast, not the podcast. Do you see, even we're before the interview of the podcast,
Wow.
not even a podcast. So, by the way, however, if you want to find it, go to the filter, Rob, if you can do it the way you did it.
Unbelievable.
To go to the filter of views, to solve for the most views. Tell me how this makes any sense. The most viewed interview is 34 million views in 2 days. And you mean to tell me if I type in Rogan and Trump, I cannot see it on the channel here? So from the clips that you saw, thoughts on some of the clips, thoughts on the whole event that took place, the podcast.
I have a few. First, the thought that a Nazi and fascist would be willing to subject himself to hours of grilling that he had no idea where it would go is unlikely. His willingness to be grilled by people with whom he differs, if indeed he differs with Joe Rogan, but with others with whom he did, compared to hers, why did she refuse to go on is a more important question even than why did he agree to. We assume he will agree to. Anything that will give him exposure, he will allow himself to be subjected to questioning. She won't, for good reason. They say it was a mistake that she did not go on Joe Rogan. That is not correct. She is so intellectually unimpressive. Forget morally or politically, just intellectually. She is so unimpressive. She could not handle it. And so she is better off not having appeared than having...
You believe that?
Oh, I absolutely believe it.
So you think if she went for 3 hours, what would have happened?
Oh, the vapidness of her thinking process would be so clear that it would be as embarrassing, if not more so, than the Joe Biden appearance in the debate with Donald Trump.
Let me ask you this. Do you think she knows the meaning of the vapidness? Like, you think she knows what vapidness means?
Absolutely
Because
not.
it took you 2 words to start off with a big word to say the vapidness.
You know why? It's funny. I love the word vapid for whatever reason, because I can't think of something that quite approximates the power of vapid. Vapid is an immense emptiness. It's emptiness to the third
Unsophisticated,
power.
right?
Like no, empty. It means literally
vapid.
Yes, unsophisticated is a given. Yes, right, but that you will find this fascinating. You could do it right now. Dennis Prager, Kamala Harris on CNN with Larry King, the late Larry King, when she was running for Attorney General of California. I was, by coincidence, I believe, on the same show with Larry King when CNN used to have me on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah. Is this it?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, well,
and what
clearly,
happened?
yeah.
Tell us about it.
No, it was just so the issue arose about a same-sex couple adopting a kid, and I argued. Yeah, there she is. Yeah, I look much younger than she.
What year was this, Dennis?
Oh, it's a good
14
great
years
question.
ago. I just found
Is
it. I'll
it
give you the
14
date.
years
Oh,
ago?
please,
Yeah.
keep going. I'll find the date.
No, anyway, I just thought you'd find this event. The subject was the one that I remember, wherein I argued that if I were an adoption agency and I had 2 wonderful couples, same sex and then there was no same-sex marriage, and a married man and woman, I would give the child to the man and woman, because I believe that all things being equal, and I kept emphasizing that, it is best for a child to have a mother and father. By the way, all the gay couples in my life, and I am very close to a number, I'm the godfather of one of the couple's children, agree it is the ideal is to have a mother and father. To deny that is just dishonest. So I said to her, I'm just curious, if you have a wonderful same-sex couple, wonderful heterosexual couple, and everything you know of is equivalent, what would your position be if you were an adoption agency? And she refused to answer the question. It was so fascinating to anybody listening that, well, I would need to know more.
Were you so impressed with her that you said one day she's going to run for president?
Amazing that you should have read my mind.
Did you ever? Were you like,
Yes.
oh my God, she's so impressive?
The president of the Santa Monica Coin Society. Yes,
Okay, but go back to with the Trump and Rogan podcast, right?
Yeah.
32 million views. He does it. You know, it's all over the place. You know, independents, because Rogan's got the biggest independent viewership, undecided voters. He's probably got that base. How big of an impact do you think that has on the election?
So the question is, and I don't know, and no one knows, how many quote unquote undecideds are there? Because it's as my producer said to me the other day, Dennis, do we know any undecideds? Like, do they live in a certain city? Are they in a suburb of Cleveland? Where are the? I hope there are undecideds. I'm not. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm a bit doubtful that there's this gigantic undecideds vote. There might be.
Run a poll of watching this. Who is an undecided voter? Who is watching this podcast that has still not made a decision who they're voting for? Just put yes. No, I'm actually curious to know what this percentage is. But go ahead.
No. So yes. Let me put it to you this way: if there really are, any serious number of undecideds, it would seem to me that it would be breaking on his behalf. I mean, I don't know what appeal that she has, except that is there a serious percentage of undecideds that believe he is a Nazi? By the way, I just want to say something about the Nazi charge. It is a shame on Jewish groups like the Anti-Defamation League that they do not, on a daily basis, condemn in the name of protecting Jews, condemning those who call Trump a Nazi and a fascist. All of this this is critical. If I came to say one thing, this might be the most important. The calling of Trump a Nazi and a fascist, all it does is reduce the power of the word Nazi and fascist to repulse decent human beings. They have cheapened the greatest evil. And why Jewish groups are not unanimous in condemning the Democrats, and it's not just Kamala Harris, it's the Democrats, for using the term like nothing, like water, is a shame of the ADL and other groups that claim to defend Jews.
You forgot the word Hitler as well, but let me ask you a question.
Yes,
Dennis.
that's right.
Why is it? Why aren't they stepping up? Why aren't they saying something? Why is this shift happen? About them not stepping up and saying, you're calling this guy Hitler.
So here's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to come back to that, okay? We're for sure covering that. Rob, play 2 or 3 clips from the Trump Rogan podcast. Then I want to go to the Madison Square Garden with the comments that they're making. I want to stay on this thing here. Just play 2 or 3 of them. One of them, which was a funny one, and then just play a couple other clips. We'll comment on this and go to the other issue. Go for it.
The rhetoric is also that you're Hitler, and that in order to stop Hitler, you have to do whatever it takes.
That was okay, yeah.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, you're hearing this now. Kamala compared you to, said your love of Hitler yesterday.
Kamala's a very low IQ person. She's a very low IQ. I'm for taking tests, too. I think anybody that runs for president they should give them tests. And it's not an age test.
I actually like this idea, by the way.
If you look back on history, 70s and 80s, some of your greatest leaders in the world history, long-time world history, they were in their 70s and their 80s. But I think you should take cognitive tests. I think they say it's unconstitutional. But
That's ridiculous.
I think Kamala should have a test because there's something missing. There's something wrong with her.
Well, I think it's pressure. I think the pressure and the scrutiny, you've been a celebrity for a long time and you understand what this is like. But for someone who's in her late 40s, who becomes the vice president, who runs for president, becomes the vice president, and then all of a sudden the weight of the world is on your shoulders and there's all these people paying attention. A lot of people clam up.
But you either have it or you don't.
Correct.
Look, this is an interview. We've covered a lot of territory, right? And it's fine. I don't care. I want to. I think it's much more interesting. To do an interview with Anderson Cooper, a crazy softball interview. She took 2 days off and she studied all day long, and then she comes out with a result that was a real embarrassment. That was a really bad interview. She couldn't answer a question.
Rob, that's good.
And every question.
What do you think about this? You see this, Vinny? I'll go to you first. Your thoughts about what he's saying with the test, cognitive testing.
I think why not? I mean, this person that's going to be running our country and running the free world, they have to be all there. Like Joe Biden, let's be honest. For how many years have we had, not us, have they been pretending like this guy is on point? As of right now, Dennis, God forbid something happens. Where is Joe Biden? Is he actually going to be the one making the calls and saying, do this, do that? I know the answer. It's no. It's the people that are around him. But I think 100%, Pat, every single year, let's test and see if you're all there. Because if you're not there, your faculties aren't there, we got to move on. We have to.
Dennis.
So again, it's the sidebar that fascinates me. Always I ask if the shoe were on my foot or the shoe were on the other foot. Can you imagine a Republican president equally incapable of being president, yet staying in the office, and they're appointing the nominee for president, not nominating, appointing, then the Republicans would be called the fascist party, the authoritarian party, the anti-democratic party. But if this is done by the Democratic Party, what I'm about to say is among the more painful, and there are many painful things to say about my beloved country, but this is one of the biggest ones. The New York Times, the Washington Post, the Los Angeles Times, and nearly every major newspaper, NBC, CBS, ABC, NPR, PBS, you name the three initials, they function and I speak with some degree of expertise in this. This was my field. The Soviet Union, communism. I learned Russian. I went to communist countries often. Pravda, it was to the Communist Party in the Soviet Union what the New York Times and the Washington Post and the LA Times are to the Democratic Party in the United States. I can't tell you, when I came out 40 years ago to California from New York, I was so in love with the New York Times that I subscribed. There was no internet then. I got the physical New York Times. There was no national edition. The New York Times, wrapped in brown paper 4 days late. That's how much I admired the New York Times. And now it is nothing more than what Pravda was to the Communist Party. It is the way they write headlines, the way they write Trump lied in a news item, not allegedly lied, not opponents consider him to have lied. The language that you can't tell the difference in the New York Times between an opinion piece and a news piece.
Tom, your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, I did something in reverse. As a young man, I loved to read Jim Murray,
right?
The great sports writer. And so my parents would get me the LA Times that arrived wrapped up like a little log in brown paper 3 days, 4 days late. And I used to go in there and I would read Jim Murray and read sports pages and things like this. But I remember similar metamorphosis with the LA Times because I got my master's at Pepperdine, lived out there for some time, and I'm like, I can't believe this. I believe somewhere we went from some commentating to campaigning. And that's the difference that I think has happened in the news media.
Right, they're spokesmen for a party.
That's right. That once upon a time they were commentating on the issues of the day, and it used to be the newspaper was like not this voice of reason, but it was a clearinghouse for endorsement. And people looked to see, well, the LA Times, along with the sheriff of LA County, the head of the fire department, the school board.
Yeah, you said that on the last podcast.
Yeah, that's right. But for the benefit,
right.
Yep. That used to be that like an important piece and role of the newspaper was to present to you, the citizen.
Well, you'll
you'll
find this fascinating. I think all of you will. I used to write for the LA Times regularly. Regularly. You look up Dennis Prager, Los Angeles Times, you will see column after column after column. They had column right and column left. They don't, starting in about 2003, 4, whatever it was, a shift, it went from liberal, which I admire, to left-wing, which is always destructive. Everything the left touches, it destroys. That is one of the understandings one must have about life. There's no exception to that rule. And so, by the way, the most positive piece ever written about me in a mainstream newspaper is in the Los Angeles Times from the 1980s, in my radio show, which was then on Los Angeles. The thought that they would write a positive piece about me today is laughable, needless to say. They did a front page piece on me and PragerU and on a Sunday edition of the LA Times, and obviously it was negative. It wasn't as negative as I expected, but it was negative. But I want people to understand these newspapers went from liberal, which I respect, to left wing, which I detest.
So going back to the question here. If you are choosing your president, okay, and you have a choice on what tests, Tom, you would want your candidate to take, okay? I'm going to give you 5 tests. Which one of them is the most important on how to choose a president, okay? One is their physical that they get from the doctor, okay? And so let's just say one candidate is not disclosing it fully. Well, what are you hiding from us, right? The other one is their tax returns, okay, to see what they're doing with their money, how much money they're making. 3 is an IQ test to find out where they're at mentally, how sharp they are. 4 is their, I guess you can't even do this one here. And then credit score, which is a part of a money. Let's just say you run their credit to find out where their credit is, 450, 650, 550. Out of these tests, which one of them is your number one?
Well, are you looking at me?
I'm curious to know which one you would say is number one.
None of them interest me.
Tell me why.
Because they don't tell me a damn thing about what matters about a president. I want a moral Q test, not an IQ test. IQ and wisdom have no relationship.
How do you do a moral Q test?
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Please.
Okay, tell us what the Gulag Archipelago was. How many people did Mao kill? Who was Pol Pot? I want to know if they know about good and evil in history, because that's what I'm preoccupied with. I fully admit it. And if they don't know a damn thing about the greatest evils of the 20th century, they are not going to make a great president. Those are the questions that I would pose. I want to know, do you understand what is the difference between good and evil? Do you believe that the United States should be should take an interest in the affairs of the world? What type of interest? Do you think that the United Nations has been a positive? And let the American people judge. But both candidates get the same questions. Has the United Nations been a force more for good or more for bad or useless? Would you like the United Nations to stay in New York, or do you think it would be better if it moved to Tehran? These are operative questions I'd like to pose.
It's so interesting that's your. So let me ask you, Adam, are you different than what Dennis said? I'm just curious. Is anybody different with Dennis's answer? Tom, are you different than Dennis's answer? No, you're with them. Okay, Adam, I'm going to come to you.
I'm a little bit different from Dennis.
Would it be health, tax returns, IQ?
I agree with Dennis in one capacity. What you're talking about is essentially a civics test, but also a worldwide civics test. Do you know what the hell communism was? Do you know what fascism was? Do you know what Nazi was? Do you know what happened in China? Do you know that the deadliest, bloodiest century of all time was the 20th century? Bingo, just a couple of years ago, 25 years ago. Okay,
that's right.
Between World War I, World War II, communism, Stalin, Lenin.
What do you think? I got what he said. What I'm asking is, what do you think?
However, I am also concerned about the fact that we have $37 trillion in debt.
Correct.
And I'd like someone who can balance a budget a little bit. Little newsflash, not that Trump was doing great with the budgeting. He's quote unquote the king of debt. But now Biden, I think they're this year, 2023, they did the fiscal year minus $1.6 trillion. So
But that wasn't one of your 5 tests.
But
that would go under my moral test.
Listen, if you can make it to this point, you have a decent IQ. I don't need like RFK's doing pull-ups, push-ups. Great. I don't need that. Morality. Do you know how to balance a budget? And do you just have common sense? I think those are pretty important.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Through debate, you would see that would come out. Rob, if you want to go to the next clip on what he says here with the tariffs, I think this is the one on tariffs, right, that you sent me. Go ahead and play this clip.
Did you just float out the idea of getting rid of income taxes and replacing it with tariffs?
Well, okay.
Were you serious about that?
Yeah, sure. But why not? Because ready? Our country was the richest relatively in the 1880s and 1890s. A president who was assassinated named McKinley. He was the tariff king. He spoke beautifully of tariffs. His language was really beautiful. We will not allow the enemy to come in and take our jobs and take our factories and take our workers and take our families unless they pay a big price. And the big price is tariffs. And he'd speak like that, but he was right. And then around in the early 1900s, they switched over stupidly to, frankly, an income tax. And you know why? Because countries were putting a lot of pressure on America. We don't want to pay tariffs. Please don't you? You know, believe me, they control our politicians. If you look at the kind of numbers that these guys make then and now, but we had a commission meeting in the, I think it was 1887. Think of this problem. We were so rich. We had so much money. We didn't know what to do. So they set up a blue ribbon commission on tariffs. And the sole purpose is what to do with all the money we had. We were so rich because we were taxing other people for coming in and taking our jobs.
Tom, you know what he says in this part? I don't know if did you watch the whole podcast with the two of them? You saw the clips.
I've seen this clip,
okay,
but I have not seen the whole thing.
You know what he said, which I had never heard a candidate explain, Tom? He asked him a question about debt. And he says, well, the one way you got to look at debt is the following way. He says, the value of America has gone higher. Mm-hmm. So it's okay to have some debt, and the goal isn't to pay off debt. There's background, Rob. I don't know what that background noise is coming. The goal isn't to necessarily eliminate the debt because our net value as a country, if it was a company, has gone up. He explained it. Do you also agree with him on the?
Well, there's relativity with debt, right? So debt, you buy bonds, foreign countries, mainly Japan. We talk a lot about China, but Japan owns more than anybody else. Buys the debt, and that allows you to finance things. Okay, that's how it works on the global stage. So However, if you look at what's called your debt to equity ratio, and I'll make this really simple for people. Let's say you've gotten out of college, you've done, okay. A couple years later, you find yourself $50,000 is what you make. And you buy a used car for $10,000 in debt. Well, that means you're 5 to 1, your income to your debt, 5 to 1. But 3 years later, you're making $75,000 because you got a couple big raises and you changed jobs. But now you've paid off part of that and you only have $7,500 on that little car loan. It says you are now from 5 to 1, you're now 10 to 1. And so if the value of a country goes up and the asset value goes up and the GDP goes up, then there is an impact on the debt. That's true, except we have run right past every ratio I'm familiar with in terms of the amount of debt that we have racked up, to the point that the mere interest on what we have, not Social Security and Medicare, interest is suddenly the first and most important thing that we pay. For people, it used to be your rent in your house. Nope. For the United States of America, it's interest.
Adam.
I mostly have a question for Pat and for Dennis, but I'll make a statement. It seems like what's happening right now, especially with Trump on Rogan, Trump seems to be kind of like, he's buzzing, he's floating, he's up, he's the favorite at this point. The biggest, I think, disparity between Trump running now, his third time, versus in 2016, is he actually has an ideology, I think, now. In 2016, the criticism was he just kind of was going with the wind right now. Now it's pretty clear he loves America. He's not a Russian asset. I think that's kind of clear at this point. We fell for it, right? Some of us people. He wants to build a wall because walls aren't racist. Let's, protect our border. And he loves tariffs. He said on the podcast with PBD, tariffs, it's like my favorite word, better than love. I was like, whoa, that's pretty interesting. So it's kind of like he's found his groove and he found what he actually stands for. And he knows the difference between a man and a woman. That's a whole nother situation. But do you think he actually has a more of a pragmatic approach? He stands for something versus just kind of kowtowing around?
Well, I'd like to react to one comment you made, and happily react to more. But when you said he loves America, so my own background, and it's easily found on the internet, was I was opposed to when he was running in 2016, I was for any of the other 14 before him. I didn't think he was a serious man. I didn't think he was a conservative. I don't particularly appreciate people cursing in public every so often. I get it, but so anyway, I had my problems. I wrote, however, in National Review at the time, if he is nominated, I will support him because the Democrats are just destructive. Okay, and it's anyway, so ended up supporting him. During his administration, I turned to my wife one day and I said, this man loves America. I agree with you. He loves America, and the left does not love America. And I have a proof from 28, I think it's 2008. And I literally at the moment it was done, I played it, and I've played it maybe 50 times since. When Barack Obama said to an audience, "We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America." And I said, it is not possible to love whatever you wish to fundamentally transform. If a man said, I love my wife, but I'd like to fundamentally transform her, he doesn't love his wife by definition, or she him if she wants to fundamentally transform him. So that if you needed any proof as to the left's view of America, it sucks until we fundamentally transform it, and you can't love what is despicable. The country's despicable. I was never proud of it, Michelle Obama said, until my husband got the nominations the first day in my life. Remember when she got up and said that? This is the first time in my life I'm ever proud to be an American. And none of this made an impact on people voting for Barack Obama. It was astonishing. They have contempt for what is good. By the way, that holds true for the Middle East. They have the same people have contempt for America, which is fundamentally decent, have contempt for Israel, which is fundamentally decent. Their moral compass is permanently broken.
So, that gets me to want to transition to the next story. But what we'll do, Vinny send out Rob, if you have that, which is kind of interesting, is we're talking about Rogan and Trump cannot be found on YouTube. This is Vinny. showing the top donors in the Harris top donor contributions to Trump and Kamala principal campaign committee's 2024 cycle as of September 2024. Look at Google.
Oh, weird.
Look how much money they've given.
Can you see the number? What is it?
1,464,300.
That's the most out of any company.
It's not even American Airlines is Trump's.
Yeah, Trump.
No,
is
that's how
It's
much.
the most. All the big companies go left.
Yeah.
All of them. They're easy to they're
Apple,
for sale on the
Wells
other side.
Fargo,
Microsoft,
Nvidia,
Johnson & Johnson,
Boeing,
Apple.
everybody.
That's right. Everybody's on that side, right?
Pfizer,
Versus what they're giving money on this side.
But these are big companies. What about big mega donors? Like some people give $100 million, don't they?
This is all about context, Adam.
No, I'm understanding that.
The context is why isn't Trump Rogan podcast showing on Google? Well, the top donor to Kamala is Google.
Makes complete sense.
So,
Yeah,
meaning
makes
there is a
complete
reason
sense.
that somebody can speculate.
Interesting.
Here's why this is going on. Now let's transition
And it
into.
still has 30-something million views, and you can't even find it.
It still has. Now let's go to MSG, Madison Square Garden event yesterday, and massive people trying to get in, begging to get in, cannot get in. Record-breaking attendance, fire, all this stuff that's going on, and the way the news reports on it is wild. But even before we go to that one, Rob, is this Trump speaking? Or is that how they're reacting to it?
So I have MSNBC where they spliced in clips of the 1939 Nazi.
Go to that one. Let's go to that one. Play that one, Rob.
But that jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling. Because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally. A rally where speakers voiced anti-Semitic rhetoric from a stage draped with Nazi banners. When a Jewish protester rushed the stage, the Associated Press reported, quote, instantly, a dozen or more stormtroopers set upon him, knocking him down and beating him as he held his head in his arms. Most of his clothing was torn from his body. Later, he was booked for disorderly conduct. Now, against that backdrop of history, Donald Trump, the man who has threatened to use the military against opponents he calls enemies from within, who has threatened to use the troops to quell what he says are lawless cities, and to use those troops to carry out mass deportations of immigrants, is once again turning Madison Square Garden into a staging ground for extremism.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine how to spin it? In the same arena that Joe Frazier Ali and the greatest comeback, Donald Trump, you say Nazi? Dennis, how do you process how MSNBC, presents what happened last night?
I'll tell you how. As I mentioned earlier, my field of study, I was one of 7 students in all of Columbia University to major in what was called communist affairs. It was, tens of, 10,
you
20.
majored in communist affairs.
Yes, that's right. I was at the Russian Institute at the School of International Affairs. Learned Russian, went to communist countries every year. And I wanted to understand the enemy. That was basically what it was. I learned Russian to read Pravda, not to be able to converse or read Dostoevsky. And so I know the left very, very well. And the first use of this terminology was from Stalin. Stalin called Trotsky a fascist. Trotsky, with Lenin, founded the Bolshevik Party, not Stalin. Stalin was one of the early leaders, but the founders were Lenin and Trotsky. Trotsky was the head of the Red Army in the civil war that followed the Russian Revolution. You can't get more communist than Trotsky. But he became an opponent of Stalin after Lenin's death, and he fled the Soviet Union, fled to Mexico, and Stalin sent assassins to kill him with an ice pick, which was done in Mexico. He called Trotsky a fascist. So every one of your listeners needs to understand this. All leftists, not liberals, I make that distinction every time I speak. All leftists since Lenin, since Stalin, have done the exact same thing. They call their opponents fascists. There is no exception. That is what they do. They call them the worst possible names. I'll give you one other law about the left, and that is there is no example of the left being in power, whether in a country or at a university, and allowing dissent. There is no example. And I have my favorite is Prime Minister Ardern, Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand. I have played this on my show. You should definitely use this. It's easy to find the clip. During the lockdowns, she said to her people, if you do not hear it from the government, it is not true. Do you know who said that? Yes. And by the way, guess where she is now? Harvard. She's teaching at Harvard. She is a kindred spirit to Harvard. Harvard, whose motto is Veritas, which means truth, but it's a joke. It means nothing to any left-wing group. Truth is, what is the Soviet communist newspaper that I learned Russian to read? Pravda. Pravda means truth. Truth in the left-wing world is what they say it is. It has no objective reality. The Oregon Education Department announced the idea that math has a correct answer is white supremacy.
That is wild to be thinking that.
Dennis,
that is wild to be thinking that. I want to play a couple other clips here while we're on this. Trust me, we're going to come back. Rob, maybe play Musk, Dana, and a Trump, and then we'll go back to the next part. Go for it.
People out there who need to vote for President Trump. Okay, so this is a real battle. This is a real election battle. So you need to get friends and family to vote. Make sure they vote early. This is important. We're going to be putting up a scorecard, okay? An early vote scorecard, state by state, county by county. What is the scorecard? Vote early. Vote now.
He's rallying people. What did Dana say, Rob? He's rallying people. Go ahead.
Proven he loves this country so much, he's literally put his life on the line for it. What is the other candidate proven? She can get your party's nomination without even facing voters. What else? What else can she offer the American people other than vague promises and no plan? She talks a lot about the need for change and her hope for the future. Hope and change. Does that sound familiar?
Weird.
She can use the old Obama playbook, but she's not Obama, and she is no agent of change. She is the sitting vice president of the United States right now. What she hopes is voters will focus on the future because she doesn't want us looking at the last 4 years to see what we really need to change.
Rob,
we need change.
Go to a clip with Trump. Let's see what. Go for it.
I know many of them. It's just this amorphous group of people. But they're smart and they're vicious. And we have to defeat them. And when I say the enemy from within, the other side goes crazy. Becomes a sound. Oh, how can he say? No, they've done very bad things to this country. They are indeed the enemy from within. But this is who we're fighting. What they've said, even that enemy too, and they're really the enemy. They're the enemy of the people, the press. They said one thing about me that I consider a great compliment. They said, this guy is the most consistent person we've ever seen.
We were watching a rally from Madison Square Garden.
That is so wild. By the way, the impact of it right now when you're seeing this, Tom, and we're seeing all the data, all the polls, everything that's showing after MSG. We're looking at, after Joe, after everything. Every poll is now favoring Trump, even the majority, like we're talking national, what it's going to look like. Where are people at right now, Tom, with what's going to happen with the election?
The swing states are showing the incremental movement in the last polls toward Trump or further toward Trump.
Wow.
Arizona and Georgia look like right now that barring a real mathematical oddity, I won't use other words, that they're probably there. And you're also seeing in the media almost like taking a step back just a bit to temper the blow. And you're also seeing a lot of coping mechanism. But I'll tell you what we're seeing right now is you're even seeing New Hampshire, which should be a 6.5 to 8 point victory in a typical year with typical candidates, she should win that 6.5 to 8 points. Right now, it's looking like 1.5 point, and it's actually inside what they call the margin of error, which is rather shocking. But God bless those people of New Hampshire and their live free or die license plate, my favorite license plate in the U.S. That's where it's stacking up. And so we're seeing these things. And interestingly enough, if you look at the margin in New York and the margin in California, it's closer. Trump is going to win neither state, but it's much closer than it's been, which is why the national popular vote looks razor thin. And I believe right now that there is a very real non-hyperbole here, a very real mathematical chance that he will win the popular vote. Because when you look at the polls and you look at the excitement that's in New York and in, look at 98,000 people were in and around Madison Square Garden. That's shocking. That's absolutely shocking. And so the popular vote is in play. And so I hope that that's where it goes, because it kind of takes the bullet out of the gun to say, well, you won it because the Electoral College is so flawed. I want to see the popular vote won.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're watching this, if you go to
people can,
folks, if you go to vtnews.ai, that was very helpful, Tom. If you go to vtnews.ai, you'll notice this here. Trump up 1.4. Okay, then if you go to Arizona, pretty much on everybody now, go up a little lower so people can see it. CBS has Trump up in Arizona. Bloomberg tie. You go to Georgia, everybody, including Atlas Intel, Bloomberg, everyone's got Trump. Go to Michigan. Flipped. Even we have Harris ahead. And you got the only Atlas Intel is the one that's got Trump up 3. Bloomberg's got him down. Rasmussen is even. Nevada, again, Bloomberg and what is it? Rasmussen's got him up. Go to North Carolina. Everything. Pennsylvania. Only one that's Harris is Bloomberg. Go to Wisconsin. Okay. Dennis, what are the chances by 7:30, 8 o'clock on November 5th, everything's going to be over with and everyone's reacting to the fact that Trump won? Or do you think it's going to be one of those things that we're going to have to go 5, 10, 15 days?
What the Democrats have done to Election Day is part of my thesis that everything the left touches, it destroys. They destroyed Election Day. It was such a noble day in American history. And unless you had reason to be out of town, you voted on Election Day. You'd go with your parents to the booth. It was a beautiful ritual in American life. They destroyed Election Day. It's now election month. In some cases, election fortnight. Or no, that would be more than a month. That would be less than a month. Election 2 months. And so also we knew in the day of paper ballots, with very rare exceptions, we knew within hours of polls closing who won. Not any longer. We're now told in advance, it may take days till we know. Why did we go? And by the way, this is not a rhetorical question. I would love an answer. Why do we go to a less reliable, less speedy outcome with machines than we had with paper ballots? Do you know the answer to that question?
I mean, I can give you what I think the reason is for.
And go ahead.
Okay, I would say it's easier to manipulate.
Okay,
it's
all
hard
right.
for
Okay,
accountability.
fine. I didn't know what you would say.
No, it's tougher for accountability.
There is no other possible answer.
Right.
That's right. You can manipulate paper ballots like you can manipulate machines.
Right.
That's
period.
The easiest argument is, why do you check my ID when I go to the airport, TSA?
Yeah.
For the safety of everybody else. But how many states don't even require checking an ID? I mean, the numbers you look at, Rob, you know the numbers. I think we've
16 PBD?
We've reported on this so many times that they don't need a photo ID when you're going and voting. No, I mean, look, that argument is out the window. This is why Tom and I were speaking earlier today, and I said, Tom, what states, there's no way, we already know as of day one who's going to win. There's no one winning on the other side. Like, there is no, this is not the 1980, was it 84 or 88? Mondale, which one? It's 88, right? When it's Minnesota's the only one that he loses.
Mondale, 84, yeah.
This is not 1988, right? This is not what you're saying that's going to be an 88 type of thing that 84. Trump could win. 84, where he can win. What is it? 49 out of 50
49
states.
to 1. The only state that he won was Minnesota.
Tom, that's not where you are.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Do you think there could be a landslide type of a moment?
Yes, I do. I believe that there are, first of all, New Hampshire, Virginia, New Mexico, and Minnesota, oddly, there have been very real steady movements. And would it surprise me for those? What we're going to see by 9 o'clock, New Hampshire is going to announce. We're going to know New Hampshire, right? Because there's 11 people live there. So we're going to be able to, right? We're going to be able to see it. And if it's really close, to me, that is going to be a sign. And so I'm seeing it, but I'm seeing these other states that I just listed that are getting closer, and they're
Vinny,
now within
think?
margin of errors.
I mean, go ahead, Scott. I don't want to cut you off.
No, I think 350 is possible. Now, I'm not out there, putting money on it, but that you're on the edge of mandate. I think the minute you touch 300 and you win the popular vote by 1 vote, you can argue the will of the people on a popular basis and the electoral college, regardless of what these people want to say about it. You're elected.
So Des, let me ask you a question. Those type of stats, Tom, and I mean, VTnews.ai, I mean, that's up to date. That's in the moment. That's right now. That's happening right now. That kind of worries me, Dennis, because let's not forget who we're talking about. We're talking about the left. Everything they touch, they destroy. We're talking about these Democrats. They're losing. They know that they're losing. They know it's, they see the shift. It's not like nothing's working. That is, no celebrities are working, from Beyonce to Usher to, I think Jesus Christ wouldn't be able to help them. The Nazi fascist BS story. None of that is hitting. If they've realized, Dennis, that they're not going to win, do you think that they're capable of something bigger? I've heard this on MSNBC, the same network, Black Swan event, something. Do you think that they're capable, Dennis, of doing something that would, besides the voting in 2 weeks results, do you think that they're capable of anything?
So capable, you don't mean morally capable. You mean literally just can they maneuver? Can they maneuver?
Something? Yes.
Well, so my colleague wrote a book years ago. If it's not close, they can't cheat. That was the name. That was the name of the book.
Was that Hugh Hewitt?
Yeah, Hugh Hewitt. Hugh Hewitt wrote that, and it's and he's a moderate conservative. This is not a fire breathing conservative, but it is true. I don't know what will happen. I just want to say, because I feel compelled to say it, that aside from not knowing the future and knowing, we must understand, they feel morally okay with cheating. This is critical. If I believed Kamala Harris were a Hitler, I would cheat. Mm-hmm. You are not morally bound to stop Hitler from gaining power in a country.
Great point.
So you can't say, by the way, I've argued this for years. They keep saying he's a fascist. Then they're morally bound to cheat. You can't have it both ways. Oh, he's a Nazi, but I won't do anything to stop him from winning. That's not possible. So one must understand, for the left, it is a moral good to cheat. There's no moral ambiguity involved in doing that.
Very interesting. On the way to put it, that if you believe that, why wouldn't you go all the way?
I had to do it. We had to do it.
You have to do it.
Yeah, it's Hitler.
You're Thomas Paine, and you're at Revolutionary War. There's that which me must do, and there is that which me must do.
Well, let me just address the Hitler thing and why I think Trump's going to win, and I think it's going to be a pretty one-sided victory. The whole concept of being a Nazi and Hitler has officially been cheapened. It's watered down. It is a meaningless, useless word, just like the word racist these days. I would know this because I fell for it a few times. All right. I mean, back in the day, I've seen you say something like this before, where I think Hubert Humphrey called Nixon a Hitler back in the day. Barry Goldwaller was called a fascist Hitler. Things were Kurt Vonnegut called George Bush Hitler. Up to this day, Hillary Clinton said this rally at Madison Square Garden was just a Nazi rally. The problem is, if you look at the rally, there's a bunch of black people, there's a bunch of Jewish people, there's Latino people, there's women, there's all shapes and sizes. It didn't look like a white power rally to me, but that's just me using my eyes. Why want to use that? But everything's meaningless these days. All these words are sort of meaningless. Racist, Nazi, a man, woman, what? They've all lost their meaning. But what's going to happen right now with Trump and Kamala, in my opinion, you guys let me know, Kamala had her sugar high. 2 months ago, Kamala became the favorite. What?
Yeah.
And reality set in because you said something like she's vapid, meaning meaningless. Well, the data's kind of on your side because the more she talks over the last month, the more have we gotten to know her. People start to like her less. And at least they know that Trump is consistent. They know what he stands for. Listen, here's a little newsflash from my liberal left friends out there. We all know he's kind of crazy. We all know he's kind of an asshole. But they want an asshole. Because do you want a nice guy who loses or do you want an asshole who wins? And we want America to win again. So what's going to happen is if you check the Vegas odds, he's officially up 63 to 65% to her 35%. That's not it, Rob. The numbers are not going in her favor. Here's my last point. A month ago, there it is. A month ago, it was a campaign of joy and opportunity. Now it's Trump is Hitler. Now she has nothing to run on. So all she could do is say vote against Hitler.
Yeah.
And it's not working.
By the way, there was a Jewish girl, Rob, that was at the event. If you can play this clip, and Michael Rappaport, if you can play those two. There was a Jewish girl that, do you know which one I'm talking about, Rob? I think you have that one.
Yes, give me 1 second.
Yeah, there was a Jewish girl at the event who gets out there and says, wait a minute, everybody that's saying, to the point that even Elon Musk retweeted it. This is the one. That's the one right there. Here's what she said.
Is she single at him?
Well, let's see. Maybe by
I just got back from Donald Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden. I'm a Jewish New York Republican, and I have seen the mainstream media calling this a Nazi rally. And that couldn't be further from the truth. There were so many Jews there, just like myself. There was Israeli flags, and nearly every single speaker talked about their commitment to upholding the relationship between U.S. and Israel. Not to mention all the Latinos for Trump, gays for Trump, and nearly every other group that would have never been allowed in if this was actually a Nazi rally. Kamala Harris could literally bring Adolf Hitler on her stage, and the mainstream media still wouldn't call it a Nazi rally. Their lies are futile. Trump is winning this election in 9 days. Make sure you get out, vote early, and vote for Donald Trump.
So we were just at Mar-a-Lago. It was, so how many Jews, Israel was there? It was like, I went up to some Jewish people, the guy that sang Hatikva on stage. I was like, take it down a notch, guy. We're in America here. But there's a lot of Jews that support Trump. But the reality is, you said, I think 2/3 of Jews still support the Democratic Party. Why is it? Because I'm getting a lot of hate from Jewish friends of mine, like, who are you these days? I'm the one that told this guy, Michael Rappaport here, that I see him voting for Trump. And he's like, what? Pick Dick Trump? I go, I guarantee you vote for Trump. Because we've seen the left go so crazy. Why are they so nuts on the far, far left?
So are you asking why Jews vote left?
Yes,
yeah,
but
okay.
then,
So this is most of my speaking is to non-Jews, and especially to Christians. Not all non-Jews are Christians, so I'm making the distinction. And that's the most common question I've probably gotten all of my life. Why did Jews vote left? It's a perfectly legitimate question. I could devote the rest of the hour to that, and I won't. I will only say the following. First, it is critical to understand Orthodox Jews are overwhelmingly conservative.
Yes.
Okay? The Jews who believe in the Torah are a minority of Jews, but that minority is overwhelmingly conservative in its politics, in its values, etc. So that's critical to understand. Also, I try to explain to my large non-Jewish audience, when if a Christian stops believing in Christ, he's not called a Christian. But if a Jew stops believing in the Torah, or even God, he's still called a Jew. We're stuck with everyone, no matter what their views. People say George Soros is a Jew. George Soros is as Jewish as this bottle of water. Okay. But because he had Jewish parents, or one Jewish parent, I don't know what the case, so he's called a Jew. But he acknowledges he plays no role in his identity, none. He doesn't care about Judaism. He doesn't care about the Torah. He doesn't care about Israel. He doesn't care about the Jewish people. And by the way, he's free to have that. But we Jews are stuck with every Soros and every Trotsky as if they're Jews. And whereas Christians luck out, you don't believe in Christianity, you ain't a Christian. So on one third comment, when Jews leave Judaism, they don't leave religion. They adopt secular religions. As I say about, and I've written books and books, my latest Torah commentary, the book of Numbers just came out this week, called The Rational Bible. And so I'm pretty aware of Jewish life. When Jews stop believing in Judaism, they don't stop believing in religion. They adopt a secular religion. Environmentalism, socialism, Marxism, feminism. You name the ism, except for Nazism, and Jews, massive numbers of Jews who leave Judaism believe in it. And so that's, in a nutshell, the three top reasons.
Well, isn't that the same for all people, though?
Yes, that is not as much. Jews are particularly religion-oriented. Jews who leave Judaism still think they have some divine role or non-divine role, secular role to play in saving the world. And that's the reason they speak about repair the world. Tikkun olam, there is their motto, which is a lovely motto, except the Hebrew originally is Tikkun olam b'malchut Shaddai, repairing the world under the kingdom of God. They dropped kingdom of God.
So what's
they have repair the world without God.
What's your advice to Jews these days that are just still refusing to even consider voting for Trump?
I have no advice. I mean, I would ask them this: are you aware? Does it not bother you that the Democrats, and I mean all the Democrats, with almost no exception, believe that men who say they are women can be in women's prisons, can be in women's shelters, can play against women in women's sports? Does that bother you? I'm just curious. Do you? I would ask that Jew: do you have any cognitive dissonance?
Yeah, but he's a threat to democracy, is what they would say.
Yeah, but they don't have any basis for it. He was president for 4 years. We had more democracy than under Joe Biden, who says, I will allow you billions of dollars of college debt. I will erase it. And the Supreme Court and other courts say, oh, you're not allowed to do that. He says that I ignore them. The threat to democracy, which party colludes with big tech to suppress dissent? The Republican or the Democratic Party?
Democrat.
Yes, exactly.
By the way, what is weird about this whole thing is that she is so cornered. On 1 minute, he's getting the Ackmans of the world. He's getting all these people that would have never voted for him that are saying, hey, man, I'm voting for Trump. And they're Jews. And they're Democrats. Yeah. And then on the other side, he's getting Muslims to get up on stage and endorse him because they're convinced he's going to stop war. Rob, if you can play this clip. How much worse can it get for Kamala?
More.
Is it Michigan?
As the president said, we just had a positive meeting with President Trump. We as Muslims stand with President Trump because he promises peace. He promises peace, not war. We are supporting Donald Trump because he promised to end war in the Middle East and Ukraine.
Good. This guy seems pretty reasonable. I don't know who he is.
The bloodshed has to stop all over the world. And I think this man can make that happen.
Wow. So that's the part, Vinny. So you're on 1 minute. I mean, these are the types of opponents you never want to face. Because Rogan said something when he was talking about what it was like. You know, it's like this guy sat through 3 hours, didn't need to go to the bathroom. We just went through it, the amount of energy. And by the way, he's 3 hours late to his Michigan event because of the podcast. Gets on the plane, Austin, flies to Michigan, goes to Michigan, gives the event, then is going to Madison Square Garden to do the event over there and entertain all the folks that are over there, whatever else he's doing throughout the day, interviews and all this other stuff. And every time you turn on, hey, Trump's on the phone call, Trump's calling somebody. That is a annoying opponent, an intimidating opponent to go up against. No wonder they're going through what they're going through today. By the way, one of the moments that everybody's talking about from last night, you guys, the comedy and what this means is, here's Tony Hinchcliffe, which we've had him on the podcast. By the way, this guy is ridiculously talented. Yeah. He may be the best guy right now when he gets on stage and works the crowd and roasts everybody one by one.
He's an insult comic and he's a roast master.
God, the way he does it.
That's who he is.
What he did at the when he roasted Tom Brady, I thought it was amazing. Mm-hmm. But here's him at the event talking about an island, and I'll let him say it. Go ahead.
A lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there. Again, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody.
Okay, Vinny, comedian. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, well, first of all, I love, and I call it what it is. It's fake outrage from the left. I mean, by the way, we didn't know the timing of it. I didn't watch the whole rally, but going up after the national anthem. Do you guys remember? I'm pretty sure you do, Dennis. Don Rickles does the Ronald Reagan roast, right? No, not necessarily the roast. He spoke in front of everybody. You know what he opened with? Webster, for all the young people that don't know, is a little person actor, a black little person actor from back in the 80s. Can you show the opening of this, Pat? What he says to him at the beginning?
Sure.
Show this, Rob. Listen to the opening line.
I know this is a Republican celebration, but I have the honor of introducing a man who is so democratic, he picks on everybody equally, even a little kid like me. Mr. Don Rickles.
What year is this?
Oh, man.
Vinny, you're not getting, what's he about to say right now?
No.
Can we play this?
Yeah, you can play this. Listen what he's in front of the president.
Okay, I'm
Watch.
saying,
Watch this.
1985, January 1985.
Be funny. And look at the first line that look. You want that racial humor? Look what he says to this little kid.
I think he was like 22 years old.
First black kid I ever saw that'll definitely never play basketball.
Okay, all right. Rob, stop that. First black kid I've seen that'll never play.
What event is this at?
He opened with that.
Well, what event is this?
Oh, this is at like
1985 inaugural ceremony for Ronald Reagan.
He just became.
Got it. So this is after the 49 states
But he just became the president. This is in front of.
We're talking about a different time, though, Vinny. You're talking from 84, 85 to now. You are in the most sensitive season of all time. So let me go back to it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Tom, what Tony Hinchcliffe said on stage when he says, an island of, what does he call it? An island of.
He said there's a floating island of garbage.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Puerto Rico.
What do you think about it? Because just so you know, Trump's camp came out afterwards and he said, we don't agree with what he said. I don't know if you have this, Rob, or not. It was to the point that Trump's camp had to respond to it and say, look, that's what he said. We don't agree with him when it comes down to Puerto Rico.
Okay.
There's a lot of voters for Puerto Rico across the country.
For sure.
Especially some markets that are, battlegrounds.
But Pat, and that's time I'll let you go. But think about it, PBD. They hired an insult comic. You hired a roaster.
Sure.
People should know that. And mind you, George Lopez over the weekend at Kamala's rally said that Mexicans are thieves. So it's not like, oh my God, let's be shocked.
Yeah, but the point on that one, they said Mexicans is thieves. He's Mexican. So it's kind of like he's making fun of himself.
I got you.
But that, again, go ahead, play this clip so people can see it. This is about the wall.
Going to build a wall. And George Lopez said, you better build it in one day because if you leave that material out there overnight.
So funny, but it's self-deprecation versus you're making fun of somebody else. Tom.
If you're invited as a comedian to an event like this, there's one rule. This is a national campaign rally, and it is you have to go easy and avoid people group stereotypes. You're there to kind of pick on Democrats. See, they don't have a race. Right? You can pick on Democrats. You can do the same thing that when Trump read the jokes. Said, well, but you got to keep the nannies away from Doug. Ooh, that's a nasty one.
Yeah.
Even he thought that maybe on the edge of that maybe that was there. But if you're a comedian invited to do something like this is not Saturday Night Live. This is a partisan crowd, and you are at a political rally. And being invited as a comedian, first of all, did someone check? I agree with that. And second of all, you got to stay off people groups. You're asking to touch the third rail.
I must say, maybe I'm missing something. I don't even know why it's funny. So he doesn't even have the excuse of, well, look, folks, I'm a comedian. It wasn't funny. Nobody in this group laughed when you heard it now. Nobody in the audience laughed. It was
or then.
Huh?
Or when I heard it originally.
I said nobody in that audience.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't funny. It was a gratuitous insult. Insults are fine. It was gratuitous and meaningless. I don't know the man from Adam. Everybody is allowed a mistake, but we at least have to call it out.
I think the Trump camp is probably having a second thoughts of why they invited Tony Hinchcliffe to do a little comedy roast. But here's what I know about comedy. I want to know what he said 20 to 30 seconds prior to that. Because if I know anything about the media, they probably cut half the joke out, left that part in, whip it up, oh my God, and then they're going to play a clip like the hurricane in Puerto Rico 8 years ago when Trump's doing LeBron jump shots with paper towels. And Tony Hinchcliffe said this. This is not Trump. This is not the Trump campaign. This has nothing to do with anything. All the media has is racist, Nazi, crazy, whatever. So they're trying to see what sticks, but nothing's sticking. And Tony Hinchcliffe, great comedian. This one failed. But I'd like to see what he said before this.
Is this the whole thing?
You have that?
It is. Yep. I'm looking for 30 seconds before.
Okay.
Go ahead. Let's see what he says. Play the clip.
Speech is under attack, people. I host a
speech is
show,
under attack.
and each
Here we
week
go.
I get updates what words we're allowed to use and not use anymore. It's happening right now the past few years. It's a real thing. And, used to be able to tell people to Google stuff. My mom's a boomer in the state of Ohio, and there's no convincing her of anything. She's eating the cats. She's eating the dogs. They're eating the pets up there.
All right, that's a Haitian joke.
It
He's
is
going there,
absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now.
The joke.
So he's already doing
it's
kind
called
of
Puerto
racist,
Rico.
funny jokes. Listen, the whole thing with comedy.
Let it keep going.
Oh, sure,
Let it keep
yeah.
going. Look, I just want to know what he says next.
Well, it's the same thing.
Okay, all
It's the
right.
same-
Hang on.
We're getting there. Again, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody. This isn't exactly a perfect comedy setup. There's some people here. All right, very good. I like it. I have other policies that I think it should be implemented as well. Like me personally, I think football should be all year round.
Yeah, it's okay. So my thoughts on this, on what he's doing. First of all, let's go through, if I'm his manager, okay?
Hinchcliffe's?
Yes. Privately, I'm like, hey, bro, you killed it. Everyone's talking about you. He probably got 3 billion views today. He was the number one trending thing on Twitter.
Yeah.
All the clips combined with ABC, CBS, NBC, ABC, total views, not 3 billion, but he probably got 2 or 3 billion views today. So as a manager, I'm like, hey, you just increase your daily rate from this to this. Okay, good. And the show's okay. Now, if I'm Trump's camp, I'm sitting there, I'm like, maybe we got to kind of be careful what happened here. Let's take our position. And by the way, what he responded with, here's what he said. He says, I love Puerto Rico. I always vacation there. I made fun of everyone, the whole set. I'm a comedian, Tim. Might be a time to change your tampon, is what he said about Tim, right? That was kind of like a comment that he made. But that's how he is. He's going to offend people. So, he said this, responding to them. These people have no sense of humor. What a while that a vice president candidate would take time out of his busy schedule to analyze a joke taken out of context to make it seem racist. Exactly. I love Puerto Rico on vacation. I made fun of everyone. The whole set, I'm a comedian, Tim. You made change the time. You change your tampon. Look how many views this got. Go to the bottom, see how many views this tweet got. How many? 40. One tweet, 40 million views. Okay? So, however, this is going to be gone tomorrow and moving on. The question really becomes, the undecided Puerto Rican voters, are they going to say, that's it? I am done with Trump, and I'm going to go the other direction. No, I think everybody's moving on. 24 hours from now, they fully forgot about this because the news cycle is going to go so fast. But you may want to consider when you come with comedians next time, maybe know that there's a risk with it. Well, by the way, Tony did his job.
Period.
If Tony did his job. Tony, you took the risk. Why are you bringing me as a comedian? Are you kidding me? I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
I'm going to come and talk shit. Question is, should the camp, there's the responsibility of this go on the camp that risk bringing Tony up?
I think so because you know what you're asking for. You can't hire strippers and then get mad that they took their clothes off. If we're going to be honest with each other, you can't be like, what are you doing? I agree.
Hey, they're called poll workers
Yeah,
these days.
and I'm with Dennis. It didn't hit. The joke obviously didn't hit, but with comedians, and I don't think the administration would be like, hey, listen, we need to see your set list. What do you like when I perform in front of PHP? I'm not going up there doing any vulgar anything. There's families in there. This is a whole different situation.
Well, you heard that the Puerto Rico. I mean, since this happened, J-Lo, Bad Bunny, I think Daddy Yankee, a couple other big Ricky Martin. They basically came out and they're like, yeah, we support. They came out. They all came out. Well, Ricky's been out. They came out and they supported Kamala Harris. Newsflash: they were going to support her anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is just a perfect moment. But then there was this Puerto Rican girl out there who was at the rally. Did you see this clip? She's kind of got like a Rosie Perez thing going on. She goes, let me tell you something about Puerto Rico. And the garbage, it piles up all the time. This has nothing to do. It's actually like the ocean in the currents. She should start explaining. And she's like, garbage is here. It's actually here. Can we help us with the garbage? I don't know if this is her, but the point is, she's saying like, yo, that's actually bringing attention to picking up so we don't have recycling. We don't have things going on. It's like, you're so stupid, Billy, type of thing. But the regardless thing is, this is not going to move the needle. No, racist, Nazi, Puerto Rican, floating islands. Trump's got this thing kind of locked in.
Tony Hinchcliffe, 2 to 3 billion views.
Working out well
Tony,
for him.
You got winning as a manager.
PB, you have a lot of Puerto Rican friends, no? From PHP. Have they said anything?
No, they don't give a shit.
Nobody
Matter
cares.
of fact, I'm going to tell you. The one lady that 8 years ago were somewhere, Tom, if I tell you this afterwards, you'll be shell-shocked, that she hated, I mean, I can use the word hate, absolutely hated. Grandmother's there, and the grandson comes, and I'm like, so what do you think about Trump? And the grandson said, oh, in our family, my grandmother can't stand it. We can't watch it. There's nothing that we can do with Trump. I'm like, really? I said, you should still watch it just because you should get both sides of the story. It's okay. The kid was 8 years old at the time, okay? Now, I got a text message yesterday. Hey, just want to let you know. I know you're going to be surprised by this. I'm voting for Trump in 2024.
Wow.
Never in a million years that the husband never thought this was going to happen. He's like, I can't believe my wife is voting this direction. I think this is this was a victory for Tony. People are moving on. Let me go to the next story here. Van Jones. Rob, do you have the story with Van Jones? You know, the story of what he's done and how it's pushing people away. Musk and all these other guys. Van Jones progressive push people like Musk out of the party by saying all white people are racist. Go ahead and play this clip. Go ahead, Rob.
It's sad that we've lost Elon Musk. And I want to point out, 4 years ago, Elon Musk was an Andrew Yang Democrat.
Yeah.
Don't forget
why
that.
did you lose him?
I mean, he's done great stuff when it comes to climate, when it comes to space, et cetera. And
so was Trump, a Democrat.
Well,
he was.
Yeah, he was. So, but I just wonder if we look back on this period. There's no excuse for stuff that Elon Musk is doing, the stuff he says, he's irresponsible. But if progressives have a politics that says all white people are racist, all men are toxic, and all billionaires are evil, it's kind of hard to keep them on your side. And so we might want to think about, if you're chasing people out of the party, you can't be mad when they leave. And maybe if we had a different politics, we actually said dignity for everybody, everybody's respected, and we need you, more people might stay.
Says the guy that preaches division, and dude, are you kidding me, bro? Like,
you got to give him credit, because is that an accurate statement or no, Dennis? Dennis, do you think that's an accurate statement?
No,
he just did?
It's obviously an accurate statement, but it's asking the left not to say those things is to live in a dream world. If America was founded in 1619, which is what your kids are taught at school, whether it's elementary, high school, or college, which is what the New York Times created of this gigantic lie, which even liberal historians said was a lie. If they're told that America is systemically racist, if they're told that blacks are targeted by police, when the number of unarmed blacks killed each year is minuscule, it's under 23, if I'm not mistaken. And by the way, unarmed doesn't mean not resisting or not even, capable of hurting the cop or trying to grab his gun. Any unarmed. If you can't then say, but there are so many wonderful whites in the country, you can't have it both ways. Again, you can't say he's Hitler, but we don't want to cheat in an election. You can't say we're systemically racist, but the vast majority of whites in the country are wonderful human beings. You can't.
Well, who said if you repeat something enough times,
yes,
everyone's going to believe it?
Goebbels said it. And it, by the way, that is a very interesting thing that you should raise that, because I am rarely surprised, but I have been.
And Goebbels was the Nazi,
the Nazi propaganda minister.
Okay.
So I believed, again, having studied the left and specifically communism, I believed that only in a totalitarian state can you brainwash vast numbers of people. And America in the last 25 years at least has shown me to be wrong. You can brainwash a large number of people even in a free society. That we have vast numbers of people who say that a man can become a woman, who say that men give birth. That is pure brainwash. Your brain has been washed of facts and common sense. It's as close to a literal wash as possible. So it's a very sad realization I have come to. It is possible to brainwash large numbers of people in a free society.
How do they do it?
By what you just said, repetition. And because
it works.
Because people, this is another critical point. We know what they know. They don't know what we know. I asked, I won't say who, I'll just say a relative of mine who is extremely bright, extremely. I won't go further than that. I can give his credentials. And I said to him, I'm just curious, did you ever hear of Jordan Peterson? And he said, who? We can name Ta-Nehisi Coates, and we could name all of their guys. They can't name one of our guys. They don't read us. They don't study under us. They don't watch us. We study under them, we read them, and we watch them. That's a big part of the reason brainwash is possible. I get the New York Times. They don't get the Epic Times. To pick one conservative paper out of the thin air.
You know, while we're talking about this here, I want to go into your the letter you wrote to Candace Owens, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to say what you said about it. And
it's 7,500 words. You couldn't read the whole thing.
No, I'm not going to go through it. That'll take us a while, right? But I'll say this. So Dennis Prager confronts Candace Owens on anti-Semitism in 15-page letter. Let me see where this is at, page 11. Let me go to it. Rob, let's see what we got. So it's going to take me about 30 minutes to read this, folks, so hang tight. Here we go. Published a 15-page letter to Candace Owens accusing her of engendering suspicion of Jew Zionism in Israel. He wrote, whatever your motives, I cannot think of anyone in public life in the internet as more suspicion of Jews as are you. Prager directly challenged her claims, including medieval blood libels about Jews murdering Christian children, and a notion that Israel exists to protect pedophiles. Prager stresses that actions overweigh motives, telling Owens motives rarely matter, actions matter, and as the amount of evil done by people with good motives is far greater than the amount of evil committed by people with evil motives. Despite this shock, he notes, I don't impugn your motives, I don't even judge them, but condemns the consequences of her statements. What happened there? What happened there with your messaging?
So there's a particularly difficult notion or situation, not notion. Because Candace, I think, had her big opening with PragerU, and she worked with us until, I don't know, about 3-4 years ago. Then she went to the Daily Wire. And she was, we had a great deal of hope and faith in her, because she was courageous, she's articulate, which is known to everybody, and she's not wrong on everything. But for reasons I believe literally only God knows, I'm not even sure she does, she just took a turn on Jews, Zionism, Israel, that I couldn't believe it. And so I didn't say anything for a while, because I just thought, wait a minute, this is not the Candace I know. My wife and I attended her wedding in England. I mean, that's how close we are. And so I couldn't believe it. But I then spent 2 months and my wife, so it's really 4 months of researching, because I didn't want to take a single quote out of context. And I quoted directly in every case. I put it in quotes. And no one has ever accused this 7,500 words of having a single word out of context. But the things that she has said are very, very disturbing. and I in a very calm voice, as I'm speaking now, but in a calm written voice, I answered every single one of the statements that she made. And I hope people will read it. And I sent it to her, and I took a month before I published it publicly. I wanted her to have a chance to respond if she wanted. I didn't think
You sent it to her directly.
Oh, yes, directly. Absolutely. We spoke on the phone. Yes,
You spoke to her about the letter?
Yes, that's
correct. What did she say?
Well, I mean, the only thing that I want to repeat is that both in writing, which I did publish, and on the phone, she spoke of her love for Marissa Streit, the CEO of PragerU, and myself, and which made it all the harder for me to do this, but it had to be done. And I volunteered to go on her show if she would ever want to talk about it. I'm not pushing to do so. I think that what I wrote is so clear, so honest, that anyone with an open mind, including her most devoted followers, will have to rethink her statements about Jews, Israel, and Zionism.
Dennis, if I'm interpreting this right, it doesn't seem like you want to go point by point of what you said. You're kind of encouraging people to
oh no, it would take too long. It's 7,500 words. I would, but it's not necessary. It's all there. I didn't memorize 7,500 words.
Most people are not going to read it.
Well,
if you could.
No.
What do you think that she gets fundamentally right, and what do you think she gets fundamentally wrong?
On Israel, Jews, and Zionism, she gets almost nothing right. I mean, that Israel. I mean, some of the things are so.
Give us some examples.
Well,
please.
that basically that Israel was founded to protect pedophiles. I mean, or that Herzl, the founder of modern Zionism, was a Frankist, which I taught Jewish history at Brooklyn College. I know modern Jewish history pretty well. I mean, they were a tiny, nothing segment of Jews. Nobody knew they existed until Candace, for whatever reason, resurrected them as a group. Or even resurrecting the notion that there may be some truth to the fact that Jews would kill Christians around Passover time to use their blood for matzah. You know how many Jews were tortured to death on that charge in the Middle Ages? And then to even resurrect it as if there was any credibility to it? I just don't know. I don't know where it's from. This is a very painful situation, but I owed it to truth, number one. And I owed it to Jewish history. Too many Jews have been the subject of libels, and I am very critical of Jews when necessary. As I say often, American Jews prove that there is little relationship between intelligence and wisdom. The number of Jews who have high intelligence and who have unwise views is very sad. I mean, who flirted with leftism is very depressing to me. But I don't have a defend Jews at all costs notion. I'm not like that. But against the notions that Zionism is a pedophiliac reaction or not, or this new thing that you hear anti-Israel, pro-Hamas chants, Judaism, yes, Zionism, no. Zionism is as part of Judaism as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are part of Christianity. It's like saying Christianity, yes, Jesus, no. Or Christianity, yes, the Holy Spirit, no. Zionism, Zion is listed dozens and dozens of times in the Hebrew Bible. We have so many cities in America called Zion. These were Christian Zionists. Zionism means only that the Jews can go back to the country where they originated. Israel. Zion is another word for Israel or Jerusalem. When 220 countries have legitimacy and only one does not, and it's the only Jewish state, a fair-minded person has a right to say that view is anti-Semitic, even if you may not be anti-Semitic. I don't believe Candace hates all Jews, but that's not what anti-Semite. It's not the only definition of it. The only, and I wrote a book called "Why the Jews." on anti-Semitism. The only movement that hated all Jews was the Nazis. But there have been anti-Semitic movements all through Jewish history. Only Hitler said there's no such thing as a good Jew. Even at the worst persecutions of Jews in the Catholic Church, if you converted to Catholicism and you were a Jew, you were a good Jew, or you were a good Christian. Now, the notion that you're racially imbued with being awful is very old, is very rare, I should say. So you can't separate Judaism and Zionism. I know people say you can, but they're not. It's not true. The return to Zion is every religious Jew prays 3 times a day, and one of the prayers is, "And may our eyes see our return, and may you, God, bring us for the 4 corners of the earth back to Zion." Herzl didn't invent Zionism; he invented the modern secular movement of it. But it is intrinsic to Judaism. And if the only country on earth you say is not valid is the only Jewish country on earth, that's by definition anti-Jewish. There's no other read about it. Why is Pakistan? I always raise Pakistan. 14 million refugees when Pakistan was wrenched out of India to make a Muslim state. 14 million. The number of Palestinian refugees was 670,000. This was 7 million Hindus, 7 million Muslims. 100,000 women minimum were raped. Virtually 0 were raped in the creation of Israel. And yet Pakistan is legitimate, and Israel, which is the only country that ever existed in the land called Palestine. Remember, Palestine was never a country. It was a land like North America. North America was never a country. Europe was never a country. It's a piece of land. It's the name of a land. So all of this is made clear there, and it's disturbing that it has to be said, but it has to be said.
Tom.
I thought that was beautifully spoken. And I think that the confusion over labels is so freaking dangerous because it creates that which is mistaken. I mean, it's the argument you're making is exactly along the lines of where conservatives and liberals are so different. Conservatives believe liberals are wrong, but the liberals tend to be the conservatives are evil. To say someone is wrong is a conclusion that implies some sort of processing and research, right? You're wrong. Why do you think that? Well, let me explain. But when you say someone's evil, that could also be a conclusion, but there's also this emotion behind it because it's such a powerful word designed to get you. And what people don't understand is when they're saying, "Oh, you're a Zionist," so they imply that means most of the time, and help me, Dennis. They'll say it because what they're saying is, "Oh, you're Zionist. You wanted to put this state in the middle of these other people and displace them for all no reason. So you're bad. You're one of those Zionists. You want the state there in the middle with this peaceful country." It wasn't a peaceful country. It was this open land that was under the, providential kind of semi-authority of other countries.
Well, of Britain and before that, Turkey.
That's right. And, Foreign Legion never got there. The French got to Africa and hung a left. That's the notion of it. And you're so correct. And people are using these words differently so that they can create the division. And it is intellectually dishonest the way they're doing it.
Yep.
That's what I think.
Vinny.
No, so, I mean, he answered. I was just going to ask if he thought that Candace, I mean, I think she's, because I haven't seen the videos that you're talking about for doing these these deep dives, but when you said you don't think that she hates Jewish people, do you think that she's just digging deep and finding information and connecting dots, but it's just like, you don't think that she hates you? She doesn't hate all Jewish people, correct?
Right, but as I said, no anti-Semite other than Hitler and the Nazis hated all Jews. So the issue is, did the Soviet Union hate all Americans?
No.
There's no such thing. Nobody hates all members of a group. It's almost unheard of. The Nazis were unique in that way. But close is Hamas. Hamas acknowledges they want to eradicate the Jews of Israel. They would like to eradicate the Jews of the world. They said, "Oh, it's great if Jews move to Israel. Then we have more to kill in one place." And that's the way they think. People cannot apparently, this is one of the longest ongoing beliefs of my life. It is wrong to describe evil as dark. You can look into the dark. You cannot look into the bright light. Evil is not dark. Evil is bright light, and people choose to look away. The denial of evil is the greatest single denial that people have. I saw this with communism. Communism was as evil as you can get. 100 million people, non-combatants slaughtered, billion enslaved. It had no redeeming feature. It was pure, horrible evil. And yet in the Western world, with all of its freedom and affluence, they were not anti-communist. They were anti-communist, which is another one of my theories. People who don't fight evil hate people who do fight evil. Israel is hated for fighting evil, not because Israel is evil. Israel's one of the most decent countries on the face of the earth. We have quote after quote of West Point scholars saying no army has been as moral in urban warfare as Israel has. The head of the British troops in Afghanistan made a PragerU video years ago saying it was the most moral army in the world, and this guy's a member of the British Army.
So
Well, there's gonna be a lot of people that
let me give my perspective on this, and I want to move on from this. I appreciate you for talking about this because, the one thing with Valuetainment is we are friends with Candace. We like Candace. We like you. I think Ben is necessary. We're good with Tucker. And, we're good with Cuomo. Cuomo sometimes 1 minute he's saying this, next minute, but listen, still we're friends. We can break bread with everybody, and we get along with everybody, right? Now, some of them may not like us for competitive reasons. We don't have a problem with anybody. But I will tell you a couple things here that I was watching a video from Tate yesterday. We're friends with Tate. And the video I watched with Tate, and he says, what the F is going on with the world? And he says, I have a position here that I'm sitting here, talking about, what's going on with this and what's going on with, AIPAC and all this other stuff. I think that he was saying this. And he says, all of a sudden I find myself in a room with people who agree with me, but they want people's dangling to be cut off. I'm like, well, how the hell did I end up in this room? So part of it is kind of like when you're defending an argument and then you go in the room and you're like, wait a minute, I don't agree with 80% of what you get. Why am I in the same room with you? Oh, shit, I made a mistake being in this room. No, I can't be in this room. I don't relate to you guys, right? It's a very weird thing. And then, but at the same time, I'm with John Anderson, who's the former, vice president of Australia. You know who he is. You guys have done stuff together. He's here. Was it Vinny last week or 2 weeks ago? That interview.
2 weeks, Rob.
Okay,
2 weeks.
2 weeks ago.
Maybe a little bit, but yeah,
okay, maybe
2
3 weeks.
Okay.
He's in town, and we do the interview at the new building. And he asked me a question. He says, "So, what do you think about all this anti-Semitism, the hate that what do you call it? People are experiencing right now, especially the Jewish community, with all the stuff that's going on, and Florida and all these other things." And I don't know if Australia apparently banned Candace. I don't know if you saw that. There's something about Australia banned Candace for anti-Semitic comments. And so I came out and I said, look, this is the part you're not going to agree with, because he asked me a question about, Muslims and death upon America, and I gave my views on that. And then I flipped around and I said, look, why can't we make an argument against it? Why can't we? I wasn't, the idea of not allowing somebody to make an argument against it is kind of weird, because my experience, every Jew that I've experienced with in my life, every Jew, I personally, from Iran, from Germany, from here, from parents getting a divorce from mom's side that were Jews or dad's side that were Jews, I've never had a bad experience in my life with a Jew. Never. I've never had it. I can tell you I've had more bad experiences with some other communities than Jews. Now, sitting across and trying to sell a Jew policy or something and doing business with them, I have to read Art of the Deal 75 times. I have to go read every single negotiation book. I have to go to a Tom Hopkins seminar. I have to go read every damn thing to try to get $1 out of this guy. He owes me a suit.
Oh my God, he does.
It's been a year. He still hasn't bought me the suit, right? So can I sit there? Can I sit there and say the fact that my experience in that side has been that they're tough negotiators? Okay, yeah, I'll say that. Can I sit there and they say, they're better at using leverage and making that additional 3, 4, 5 phone calls to get a deal done? Yes. Can I say that they have better connections, that they're all united together as Jews when it comes on to doing something? That guy's going to have his back no matter what. That guy's not going to flip on this guy. Yes, for the that's the part. But I don't have a bad experience there. By the way, I can go with, and I've been in the Army. I've been in a lot of different places. I grew up in Glendale. There was plenty of Jews there. Santa Monica. My sister married a Persian guy whose family's Baha'i, who they got some Jewish folks in their family. We're around them all the time. I've been running an insurance company 50 states. We're on them all the time. I've never had a bad experience. So, but that doesn't mean you guys didn't over-negotiate with Clinton. That doesn't mean you guys didn't over-negotiate with Carter. That doesn't mean that Israel didn't do a better job negotiating with some of the other people. That doesn't mean some of that stuff that maybe guys use Mossad or some intel that they have. That doesn't mean there's some bad last names that are Jewish whose last names are Weinstein or Epstein. That doesn't mean that. It's okay to have all of these conversations. To me, it's that. However, the one thing I will say as well is anytime we have something that personally offends us or calls us out, we will almost always exaggerate the what do you call it? The attacks towards us.
Let me very quickly respond. There is something unique about anti-Semitism, or Jew hatred, whatever term you wish to use. And it's very important that everyone understand this. People dislike people. Nations dislike nations. Religions dislike other religions. Doesn't mean a damn thing. Couldn't care less. What is unique about anti-Semitism is that it's exterminationist. The people who hate Jews want to exterminate them. There is no analogous hatred on earth. There is no attempt to eradicate a state. Israel is the size of New Jersey, and they want to eradicate it. There are 22 Arab states, 52 Muslim majority states. There's one Jewish state the size of New Jersey, and it's targeted for extinction. They acknowledge it's targeted for extinction. The heroes of the Muslim Middle East are the people who slaughter Israelis, whether it's at the Olympics in 1972 in Munich, or it's on buses, or at bar mitzvahs, or whatever. It's unique. Jew hatred is unique. It's exterminationist.
So, by the way, the conversation we were having is, who do you feel more comfortable protecting where Jesus walked? Jews or Muslims?
Jews.
Who do you feel more comfortable?
I mean, that's a no-brainer.
What do you think happens if there is no Israel? And then what happens to where Jesus walked? What happens to all the history that's there? What happened to Assyrian? You and I are Assyrian. Where's our stuff at? It was in Iraq. What did they do to all those locations?
They destroyed it.
Can I ask you a different question? You just kind of said something, prompted something. I'm curious. You're the right guy that can answer this. And I've asked this from so many different people. I've not gotten an answer. This is a complete different area. You guys, genocide, to make certain comments is overly sensitive. I'm Armenian and I'm Assyrian. Armenian genocide, April 24th, 1915, 1.5 million Armenians, 300,000 Assyrians, 200,000 Greeks. We're all part of that community, roughly 2.2 million total if you count it, How come Israel hasn't recognized the Armenian genocide? That's kind of weird.
Well, Israel is torn on it. I don't have a full answer. I don't speak on behalf of Israel in this regard. I could tell you why at a certain point they didn't, because the only country the only Muslim country in the Middle East that wasn't targeting Israel for extinction was Turkey. And they have in Israel what we want in America. We want America first. They have Israel first. And when you're targeted for extinction, you
not lately.
Okay, so you're right. You're not. I said
not lately.
Not at all lately.
Right.
And I don't think that there is I don't think that there is a denial of the Armenian. There wasn't never a denial.
Never recognized.
Not recognizing is not the same as denial. I'm not making an excuse. I just want to make it clear.
Well, maybe make a phone call to your friends.
Yes. So it's a.
Can we get someone on the line here? Caller line
Listen,
two.
JD Vance and Cuomo call Trump. You can call BB and say, hey, can we
Pat, I think what you're bringing is a very valid point, because what Pat is basically saying is I'm recognizing the Jewish Holocaust. Just do me a favor and recognize what we've gone through.
Yes. So
and it makes valid sense. But if you're Israel, if you're America first, if you're Israel first, there's some
if Israel's life weren't
there
on the line every day since it was founded in 1948, there would have been a non-issue with this regard.
Yeah, but this BS is going to change, and I'll tell you why. Because now you got the president of Turkey, Erdogan, who's calling for the annihilation of Israel.
That's correct.
So, newsflash, someone's going to have to do something to wake this up.
Let me tell you, it's a missed opportunity. Like when I saw Biden recognize the Armenian genocide. Trump could have done that.
Yep.
You know, this is an opportunity for Bibi to. You really want to give the middle finger, Bibi? Really? Why don't you go announce it and go ahead and recognize it? I don't know if he will or not, but it'd be a very weird timing of a statement if he were to do it right now. Again, it's very easy to say there's bad, there's bad that, there's bad. I'm a Syrian. Our history is very interesting. Why did we lose? We used to be the most powerful empire in the world. We screwed up.
You got the Assyrian flag right over.
Yeah, but the point is, like, it's easy to go there and we forget that we all have an element of it. The one thing that is unattractive, you know what I'll tell you that's unattractive? Thomas Sowell was asked, he says, somebody asked me a question, hey, what can we do? Because we're always targeted. And people always say, he says, lose a little bit, right? The one thing that I'll tell you in school, who I didn't get along with and I was not a fan of, people that felt they were better than you. That's always been an unattractive quality. And that part about, what's the word? I don't know if it's pompous. What's the other word that you think?
Elitism?
Is it pompous or
hubris?
Is it? I don't know what the word
Pat,
is.
it's one of these things.
Let me tell you. Yeah. But you know what it is? Those were the people that we wanted to make fun of because they walked around like, this foo-foo type of, relax, bro. Relax. This is America.
I think your ish don't stank.
I've never met an ethnicity, white, black, Asian, never, that I went to the bathroom and they went first and they took a dump and afterwards the place didn't smell. I've never met them yet.
Still.
I just haven't right now. Till today, I'm 46. Maybe it's going to happen at 47.
Give it some time.
Maybe it'll happen at 50. Maybe it's this potpourri spray type of stuff. Maybe they carry it. Whatever.
Everybody knows the Syrians got the best
potpourri
stuff.
is the way I pronounce it. But you guys can pronounce it whatever you want. But Dennis, I appreciate you for talking about that. And I can go to the next story. Let me go to this next story here. See what you say about this one here. Do I want to go there? Nah, I don't want to go there. Maybe we go. Listen. Here's one guy I do want to go to. Rob, can you pull up this J.D. Vance clip with Jake Tapper? Dennis, did you see this? J.D. Vance on Jake Tapper?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, my God. Listen, I have a feeling if Trump wins November 5th, I have a feeling November 6th, he is going to be the most targeted man in America for the next 4 years.
JD.
Minus Musk. Musk is number one.
For sure.
But I think he's going to be in the top three. You know why? Because Trump only has one term.
Yep.
They're worried this guy's going to go 8 years if Trump. Watch this clip what he does to Jake Tapper. It was so bad that insiders said Jake Tapper called his mom, said, Mom, I think I'm going to quit journalism. That's a joke, but go ahead and play the others. Go ahead, Rob.
Yourself a basic question about network integrity. You guys talked about the Russia hoax nonstop.
The FBI was investigating it. The FBI was investigating it, and so we recovered them.
And so you took the words of unnamed FBI agents and put them on your network as if they were the gospel truth. You did it again and again. A viewer of your network would have believed that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016.
No.
That was totally and preposterously false.
No.
Well, that's
what you just said is
why.
false. We covered an FBI investigation. I don't know why you want to talk about the FBI investigation.
You covered it in a way that gave credence to anonymous sources' accusations. You did it yourself. Your network did it, Jake. But again, can we talk about the issues that Americans care most about?
I'm talking about things that Donald Trump has said.
Yes.
If you have an issue
Kamala
with whether or
Harris,
not he's talking about the economy enough, that's between you and your running mate. I'm talking about things he has said this week.
Every single rally that he does, he talks about how he wants to unleash American energy so we can lower the cost of groceries. He talks about the fact that housing has become unaffordable. He talks about the wide open border, Jake. Kamala Harris and her allies, it's interesting. Kamala Harris and her media allies, and I would put CNN in this category. You guys seem to they wouldn't. Well, they should watch your network more because you guys seem to care more about Donald Trump's past than the future of the American people. We're running this campaign on making the American dream.
I'm specifically asking about how Donald Trump is going to be president in the future should he win, and then we're being told
he's going to pursue economic policies that lower the cost of groceries and make life more affordable again. He talks about it every single day on the campaign trail, and so do I. What you're talking about is an anonymously sourced story, or one guy
nothing anonymously sourced,
or who one guy who is a disgruntled employee.
I told you
five other people pushed back against him and said that what he said was dishonest. So why don't we talk about the policy that's affecting American citizens and not what Donald Trump allegedly said, according to one guy who's pissed off because he got fired by Donald Trump?
Thoughts? Dennis.
Well, the reason J.D. Vance is effective is one of my favorite adjectives about anything in life, and especially about people. He comes across as real. He comes across So did, by the way, to a certain extent, so does Donald Trump. To be perfectly honest, you whether you hate him or like him, you do feel you know him, and you don't feel you know Kamala Harris. I'm not sure there's anyone to know. I'm not big on put downs, but I used the word vapid earlier. But J.D. Vance is sort of an ideal candidate. He answers your questions. He's absolutely right in his answer here. CNN's record with the collusion story and other lies about Donald Trump is awful. One of my guiding principles of life is that truth is not a left-wing value. Truth is a conservative value. Truth is a liberal value. It is not a left-wing value. It never has been. It never will be. The moment you venerate truth, you become a liberal or a conservative. You leave the left. And this man makes it clear. This is who I am. This is what I stand for. And his answers to Jake Tapper were right on.
Tom, your thoughts when you see J.D. Vance? When you see more of J.D. Vance, how are you feeling about him?
So I think there's an authenticity to his argument. And I see his argument on two levels. The first level is, I agree with Dennis, he comes across very authentic, informed, and therefore credible. So when you come across that way, number one, then number two, I love the structure to his argument. What is the purpose of argument? To not win a point as much as is to move the conclusion to a point. And he is moving the conclusion very effectively. So the second part of it, I like very much the way he does. It says, you're worried about what someone has said in the past. We're worried about what that person is going to do in the future. And so he perfectly frames, really the question of the election. Now then, has what people said or done in the past important things to investigate and evaluate of what you can perceive about their character and their capabilities and their qualifications? Of course it is. But when Jake Tapper plays phrase picking rather than looking at policy inspection, then J.D. Vance brilliantly, I think, comes across very credible and then moves it to the conclusion. Do we want to talk about the future? Do we want to talk about where we're going? Or do you want to hang on words in the past? And I think...
Did he upset you, though?
No, he didn't. And you know who got upset? What you're seeing, what you're seeing in Jake Tapper?
Yeah.
You're seeing frustration. And you know why he's frustrated?
Why is that?
Why do people get frustrated? Frustration comes along with anger. Anger is not anger at somebody. Anger is a response to a blocked goal. That is the psychological, truth about when someone gets anger. You block them from some goal. And what you have Jake Tapper there, I believe he's frustrated professionally, and I believe he's got nowhere to go, so he has to
I
stick
thought you go
with
personal life like frustrated.
No.
But
He's
that's a
sitting
little
there.
bit of a low shot.
No.
Blow. Seriously though, it's
and the most.
But in the you're specifically talking politics, not personal life.
He's just saying
frustrated
no.
with
It's
his wife.
just politics. I think he's very frustrated professionally because he is trying. This is what Donald Trump said this week. This is what he said this week. We need to make people upset about it. It's what he said this
I thought
week.
for a moment you went there. I'm like, that's a
No.
Tom's getting cold.
Then Jake Tapper can get together with Jeffrey Toobin.
Tom,
and
we got to figure
say-
something out because we got a flight to catch. Go ahead.
Let me
Adam.
tell you one thing about J.D. Vance. The issue that they're having with him is you can't put him in a box. Oh, he's white trash. He doesn't know anything. Well, the guy went to like the most elite universities in the world. He's just all he cares about is white Appalachia. He's married to an Indian woman, so like he's got Indian kids. His mix, his biracial. He's done everything. He's been in the military. He loves America. It's like all he does is defend Trump. It's like he's doing it way better than Mike Pence ever did. So you can't put this guy in a box. He's likable. He's real. There was a rough getting off the ground. What?
No, it's just he's still upset about the Tom thing. But go.
All right,
No, you can't lie him into a box.
I'm just saying he's likable, he's respectable, he's fair
Let's
but
stay
firm.
with issues, guys, not personal life.
He's genuinely, he knows his policies. He's a fighter. He knows what he's doing. And
you know what I'm excited about?
What?
Can I tell you what I'm excited about? Here's what I'm excited about. I don't like him going after Jake's wife. Like why? Like family.
You went after him?
No, it's like
his wife.
Is he married?
called him a
Is there
tapper.
something we don't know about?
Oh man, Tom did it again.
Just stick to politics, Tom. But then sometimes Tom does this, and I don't appreciate it because I get.
It's true.
But I will tell you something. Can I tell you the craziest thing? What I'm excited about? You ready for this? Sincerely, I'm going to tell you what I'm excited about. I can't wait for 2028. J.D. Vance and Vivek on the stage debating. 27 to those RNC tickets Those two?
Oh my god! Oh, with their history, can I say one thing? too? And you
PBD,
nailed
let's
it.
not stop talking. We got 10 days before 2024 election. This guy's already thinking about 2028.
Because the
Come
future,
on, PBD.
They're good.
I know the future looks bright.
They're
I'm happy you
good.
said that
Listen,
because
let's finish strong here, guys. Enough's enough.
Well, if you think about Dennis,
Elitists.
the future does look bright. And I'm happy you brought it
Get
up.
Dennis Prager in the
Dennis
house.
can
Let's have a little
prove.
respect.
I have it up on my computer. The future looks bright because besides him eating Jake Tapper alive, which I love, I hate all these flip flop guys that are like, one day you're like, oh, he's sounding like he's coming around like Bill Maher, and then they're still leftist hacks. The fact that, think about this, the future of the Republican Party, who do the Republicans have this year? Nikki Haley, Chris Christie, Asa Hutchinson, Tim Scott, Doug Burnham, your boy,
Don't
Mike
you
Pence.
talk trash about Doug Burnham,
seeing
buddy.
somebody like J.D. Vance that stands up for what he believes in, can talk crap with the best of them, okay? That's the future looking bright. And the fact that you put in Vivek in there, Pat, now it's starting to form where you could see like, okay, we're going to have people.
What are you looking at? You're teasing me. What are you looking at?
It was the
odds for 28?
No, not the odds for 28, but it was, I mean, what do you think it's going to be? It's going to be JD. It's going to be JD. Vivek, who would you put number 3?
Oh,
right now, who would be number 3?
Let me tell you, the bench is a deep bench for
That's what I'm saying.
2028.
It's getting good.
And you know who else is going to get into in 2028
Who?
possibly? A girl named Alexandra
Ocasio-Cortez. Oh.
Because of what age she's going to be.
And you know what? Then I would hope Tulsi Gabbard flips back to Democrat just to be her.
By the way,
Puerto Rican, no?
I just want to put this out there before we get, so everybody knows. Jake Tapper's been married since 2006, happily, to Jennifer Marie Brown, a former Planned Parenthood official, Tom. So whatever shot you were trying to take, Tom, we were trying to stay specific to the business side and politics side. Good for Jake. You're in good company. You married to Jennifer. So did I. But okay, Dennis, if you lived in Florida, which I know you're a big fan of Newsom, but if you did choose to live in Florida and move out here, okay, if you did, we would do this more often because it's always fun to have a conversation with you. But as somebody that's loyally committed, fully committed to Gavin, and you love that state.
Yeah.
And
well, let me just say for the record, since I have a child and grandchildren here, I am happy to come whenever you invite me.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
Great. So we got a great excuse for it.
Can I ask him what his prediction is for tonight's game?
Yeah, go for it.
Dennis, Yankees, Dodgers, who wins tonight? I want to know.
Tom, you got to leave, please.
Tom, don't even.
Yes. So I'm going to make 50% of your audience gratuitously annoyed with me. I don't mind being annoyed with.
Okay,
but it'll be gratuitous. So I would say right now, and I'm not a big Dodger fan. I'm actually an Angels fan. I've always loved the underdog, and all of my years in LA. Nevertheless. It's hard to imagine that the Yankees will win the World Series.
That's how you're going to finish this podcast? That's how you're going to finish this podcast?
Well, it was so...
Dennis, we're fighting anti-Semitism. Last time. Now it's starting again.
It was unethical of you to ask me that as the last question.
Unbelievable.
So it's on me. I'm the unethical guy.
Yeah, that's right.
You're going to take an ethical IQ test.
It is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. We're going to see what's going to happen. By the way, Tom got me a gift. That's a little crazy. Maybe Tom was saying something. Dodgers are up 2-0. Yankees should have been up 2-0. If Juan Soto doesn't make that mistake in the right field, if Aaron Boone doesn't put in a pitcher and they say, this guy hasn't pitched for a month.
35 days.
Boom, grand slam. If we're 1 out away, 2 outs away from being up 2-0, okay? If, here's what the other if is, where we are today. Tom gets me.
Yes, sir.
Hey, the last time the Yankees won a World Series against the Dodgers, okay? Check this out. Crazy. PSA 10-8 graded. He gets me the ticket number 1 of the game. This was in 1978, the year I was born. The year you were born.
Yes, sir.
Game 1, Dodgers win. Signed ticket. Game 2, Dodgers win. Signed by Reggie Jackson. Game 3, signed by Reggie Jackson ticket. Yankees win. Game 4, signed by Reggie Jackson. Yankees win. Game 5, Yankees win. Game 6.
What?
Yankees come back and win 4-2 the year you and I were born.
Oh my goodness, this could be a sign.
This is a sign.
We're gonna win tonight, baby.
Oh, hold on. That's why your daddy 1978. Now I know. PBD. This whole time.
I got a new phone today. I'm texting everybody. It's using my old username, Daddy 1970. Everybody's texting saying, "Who the hell is Daddy?" Anyways,
who is your favorite Yankee of all time?
I'm not doing this. I got to get him on a flight. I got to get him on a flight.
People want to know.
My favorite Yankee is Dylan James Bed David when he wears a Yankees jersey.
Bingo.
That's my favorite Yankee. Anyways, Dennis,
Yeah.
Always a pleasure. Truly, always a pleasure. Safe travels to you guys.
Thank
We're going to do this again tomorrow morning. Everybody that's coming to November 5th election, I cannot wait to see you. Go get your ticket. We'll see you there. God bless everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.